Diablo 4's beta has passed and now we're waiting for the full release in June. In the meantime, we thought we should share our experiences from the beta for those who missed it. And for those who didn't, here are our thoughts on the game so far. Before we get into the features, first impressions. It's a really good looking game. The storyline so far is interesting, and the learning curve is simple. It's nothing much in terms of innovation, but the gameplay is solid. You're at least guaranteed a fun time chopping down demons, if nothing else. And if this is the first Diablo game you're planning to play, we can confidently say that you won't have any trouble trying to get into it. So without further ado, let's begin. Starting off with the character creator. A good character creator goes a long way in providing a more personalized experience for players, and Diablo 4 has definitely got it down. Hairstyles, tattoos, colors, makeups, anatomy adjustments, the options here are plentiful, even for an early build. And for a game that is top-down and rarely shows close-ups of the player's character, they look surprisingly good. There's even hair physics. Look at this. And from what we know so far, there will be cutscenes taking place where we can see our characters emoting and doing cutscene-y stuff. So that's pretty neat.
The blood of a demon.
Not just any demon.
Classes. From what we saw in the beta, Diablo 4 has only 5 classes to choose from. A step down from the previous installment, which saw 7 classes. The ones available being Rogue, Sorcerer, Druid, Necromancer, and Barbarian. Whereas in Diablo 3, we had all those, including Witch Doctor, Monk, and Crusader. However, some of those classes were only added in later expansions and DLCs. So, perhaps Diablo 4 may have more classes in the works that are yet to be revealed. With BlizzCon happening this year, we're hoping that there will be more details regarding the classes to be announced. In a game like Diablo, it's all about giving players a diverse range of abilities to do what they want, how they want. And in the beta alone, they've definitely nailed it. The versatile skill tree allows for players to experiment with different builds, with each bringing a different experience. Depending on your playstyle or the class you choose, your effectiveness during combat may vary. In the final release, however, we may expect things like exploration, altars of Lilith, and the renown system to come in play when it comes to progression and leveling up, but they can be a topic of their own. Speaking of progress, why not hit that subscribe button if you like this video? That way, we can level up our content in the future. Combats and dungeons. Diablo 4's combat is fast-paced, gory, and very
nice.
The game's emphasis on power fantasy makes it very rewarding when slaying demons. If you're familiar with the game Doom, this is pretty much that in regards to combat. Except it's a top-down isometric version. The devs made sure to create a system that carries a consistent flow of momentum, leaving players on the edge of their seats while having rooms for breather when necessary. With that said, this is by no means a brainless hack and slash. When it comes to encounters, it is still important to be tactical and use your resources wisely. However, when it comes to dungeons, the best way we can describe it is lackluster. Apart from the atmosphere, the procedurally generated dungeons can get very repetitive very quickly. Although games like this are usually built for replayability to encourage grinding and looting, the dungeons here don't support that experience very well. There is so little about them that distinguishes themselves from one another, making them feel very copy-pasted, despite the whole procedurally generated gimmick. But keep in mind that this is still an early build of the game, and that things may change upon final release. Finally, we'll be going through the map. Surely, every Diablo fan has seen the screenshot of Diablo 4's full map. During the beta, players only had the chance to experience about a fifth of the map. And seeing as how Act 1 alone took about 10 to 12 hours to clean out, we can only imagine how much it's going to take to complete the final release. The zones looked really interesting as well. With emerald forests and wetlands to bone-dry scorching desert, the environments in Diablo 4 are nothing short of variety. And within these zones are also zones, in between zones that connect one zone to another zone. And just in case I haven't said it enough, zone. As we saw in the beta, these are areas like the Fractured Peaks that blend locations together so that players don't go from a swamp to a barren desert in a blink of an eye, which is a very welcome addition. And before the release date rolls around, there is some feedback regarding the state of the game so far that we'd like to share. Diablo 4 is, after all, an MMO. You can see other players going about their own businesses, and it is up to you if you'd like to join them on their noble quest slaying monsters and completing world events. Though some players may like this feature, others may not. As fun as it is, having an option to turn off the feature so that we can play solo or just with friends may be a better experience for some players. We've seen this during the launch of Diablo 3, and boy, it didn't sit well with a lot of players. By doing this, not only do you cut off players who may have complications with networks and connections, but at its core, Diablo has always been a solo-first game like the first and second installments. So we'd really like to see them bring back solo. Plus, we really can't imagine what the queue time would be like on launch day. And frankly, we don't really want to. And in regards to leveling up your character, Diablo 4's progression system is not very demanding, which is a plus. When it comes to looting, however, players are usually directed to dungeons. As we've previously mentioned, the dungeons sometimes feel copy-pasted, and it hurts the replayability of the game. Though the devs have promised that Diablo 4 will be launched with over 150 dungeons, we can't help but be a little skeptical about how fun they'll actually be. Next up, we'd like to nitpick about the user interface. As of now, the camera feels a bit too zoomed in. And for a game that's top-down, we'd love to have the options to be able to give us a better perspective on Sanctuary and everything else that's going on, especially when there's a chaotic battle and there are other players involved. And finally, a little bit of balancing. Tons of players in the beta, us included, have complained about the cooldowns, mostly in regards to the dash ability and ultimates. Though there are gears to address these problems, it still doesn't help the fact that ultimate abilities can sometimes be inferior to regular skills. They have longer cooldowns and generally provide less value, so why invest any skill points in them at all? And that wraps up our experience with Diablo 4's beta. Did you try the beta? And did you enjoy it? Share your thoughts on the game with us down in the comments. Until next time, signing off.